here.
Dunstan here.
Miller here.
Lorick here.
David here.
Guzikowski here.
Seifert here.
Chandler here.
Approval of the February 27th minutes. Will everybody please take a look at your minutes? And if there are no corrections, omissions, or questions, motion.
We did correct those minutes, I think, when we had a mayor that moved to alderman.
Yes, those technical corrections have been made.
Okay. Seifert moves to approve the minutes of February 27th, 2018.
Guzikowski will second.
Roll call.
Christine Hannah here.
Johnston, aye.
Grillo, aye.
Lorick, aye.
David, aye.
Guzikowski, aye.
Seifert, aye.
Chandler, aye.
And significant common council actions. Carrie.
Council approved the following: a resolution creating, describing, and making certain findings and approving the project plan and boundaries for tax incremental district number 14, affecting properties at 610 West Rawson Avenue, 7001, and 7045 South 6th Street. A resolution creating, describing, and making certain findings and approving the project plan and boundaries for tax incremental district number 15, affecting properties at 330, 400, 410, and 500 West Drexel Avenue. An ordinance adopting an amendment to the comprehensive plan for the properties at 8300, 8304, 8310, and 8380 South 27th Street, and 8370 South Orchard Way. And a resolution approving a land swap term sheet by and between the City of Oak Creek, Ryan Business Park LLC, and Milwaukee County. Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Carrie. Item 5A, it's consideration of a conditional use permit submitted by Doyle and Boylan Properties, Oak Creek LLC, for a conditional use permit for an automotive sales and service and a car wash on the properties at 7008 and 7018 South 27th Street and 2500 West Rawson. Carrie?
Unfortunately, my screen is not being projected at the moment, but this is for a proposal for automotive sales and service in a private car wash facility on the properties on the corner of 27th and Rawson. This is the northeast corner. Plan commissioners will recall that this was actually a proposal that was brought forth in 2016 and approved. For various reasons, a building permit was not issued, and therefore the conditional use permit was expired, and hence why we're here tonight. The applicant has requested that we review the request again. That's what I have. So the rezone that was part of that original approval was not affected. Apologies, we're having technical issues with the projection. This is part of the 27th Street Corridor Plan. It is also in the RRO, Regional Retail Overlay District. Mr. Mayor, can you give me just one moment, please?
Sure. Just as soon get it up there and go through it once.
All right, what you should see on your screen right now is the conceptual site plan for the car dealership. It's projected that the monthly sales will be between 75 and 85 new and used vehicles. There would be 2 to 3 inventory deliveries a week, and about 10 to 25 customers were anticipated per day. There's been no updated information regarding the number of customers anticipated for retail parts or services. However, per the 2016 report, they had estimated about 15 to 20 retail customers for parts and about 35 to 45 customers for service expected per day. They are anticipating there to be 35 to 40 full-time employees at this location, and less than 10 are anticipated to be part-time. Those would be evening receptionists, lot attendants, and loop techs. The anticipated hours of operation are broken down and provided in your reports, but for the showroom, they're anticipating Monday through Saturday hours to be between 9 a.m. and 9 p.m. Service and parts would be between 6:30 a.m. and 6:30 p.m., and every department would be closed on Sunday. They're anticipating 2 to 4 auto deliveries per week, daily delivery of auto parts, and frequent oil and supplier vendor and truck deliveries. The outdoor storage and display would be for automobiles only. In the original conditional use approval, it was stated that there would be no parts, equipment, damaged or junked motor vehicles, or anything outside of cars for sale stored outside. So anything that would be worked on, any of the materials that would be used to work on the vehicles, that would all be inside. If they have any hazardous materials, that would obviously have to be approved by the fire department and would be limited to those that would be allowed just for the maintenance of the vehicles on the site, so no excess. Access to the site is provided both on Rawson Avenue and 27th Street. Final written approvals and permits are forthcoming, and we will need to have copies of those from the state and from the county submitted to the city prior to issuance of building permits. Parking for the facility is surrounding the building. It's broken down into visitor, employee, and vehicle storage areas. There are a couple of areas that have not been identified, but those are anticipated to be for excess employee or visitor parking. Requirements for motor vehicle sales establishments in the code is 2 customer stalls per salesperson plus 1 per peak shift employee. Motor vehicle repair, maintenance, and service station requirements are 3 stalls per indoor service bay plus 1 stall for every peak employee. That would be required 51 to 60 stalls based on the salespersons and 35 to 40 full-time employees, 74 to 79 based on repair, maintenance, and service, including those full-time employees. So they have provided 137 visitor parking stalls in the proposed site plan that's on the screen, 52 employee parking stalls, and then a total of 328 that encompasses all of vehicle storage areas and parking for visitor employee. Per code, buffer yards are required for parking in buildings, especially considering there are residential properties in the neighborhood. The conceptual site plans that we have seen are not much changed from that were approved in 2016. Buffer areas are incorporated into the concept plan. There are also officially mapped roads that affect this property. They're not shown on the screen. They are on a CSM draft that was included in the Plan Commission packets. This officially mapped road pattern was part of an agreement with the Wisconsin Department of Transportation. The applicant has indicated their continued compliance with the requirement for a written agreement to construct the officially mapped street on their property to the northern property line at such time the remainder of the public road is constructed. In other words, they are not proposing to construct that public road on their property at this time, only in the future. If that is a requirement that the Plan Commission is still comfortable with, it will be incorporated into the conditions and restrictions. The applicant has also agreed to provide an escrow to purchase the corner property. This would be an area for future gateway treatments as part of the modification request that we will discuss. On your screen right now are the proposed elevations for the building. There are several loading dock overhead door locations. In the overlay district, loading docks and service areas must be placed at the rear of buildings and accessed from service driveways separated from pedestrian customer parking areas. As you can see, the main customer service area overhead doors are actually fronting 27th Street. They're supposed to be completely screened from surrounding roads and properties, and they may not face the street right away according to the overlay district requirements and general code requirements. However, with the orientation, it would be impossible to fully screen those doors. There are also doors on the south and north elevations, although the north elevation would not be seen. It's not within the visible perimeter. Code allows for a modification to the building standards by a 3/4 majority approval of the Plan Commission, only if supplemental design elements or improvements are incorporated into the project over and above those which are otherwise required, which compensate for the modification of the particular standard. The applicant is required to provide both written and graphical representation of the supplemental design elements and how such will be in fulfillment for the requirement of the modification requests. Since this is more for a site plan review, the Plan Commission can actually approve the conditional use permit without having to specify what those modification requests are. They will be considered, again, during site and building plan review, which would come after this requirement. And on your screen right now are the proposed renderings of the building from the northwest, southwest, northeast, and southeast. These are the main portions of the building that would be seen from the visible rights-of-way. Should the Plan Commission feel that this is an appropriate use for the proposed location, there is a suggested motion that the Plan Commission recommends that the Common Council approves a conditional use permit for automotive sales and service and a private car wash facility on the properties at 7008, 7018 South 27th Street, and a portion of 2500 West Rawson Avenue after a public hearing and subject to conditions and restrictions that will be prepared for the Commission's review at the next meeting, which is March 27th. Mr. Mayor.
Thank you for that, Gary. Would the applicant like to say a few words about the project in particular, or you want to wait at this time?
I'm Dave Stava with Project Agent for Custom Facilities that represents the Boylan Auto Group. We feel that working with Harry and her group that we've presented a very Class A building. We've made modifications and gone back to the heights and the restrictions that have been set forth upon us, and we feel pretty confident about what this building's going to look like. And to your point, Alderman, we've broken up the sight lines and made it a little bit more appeasable, so it's not just that white box that you're looking at. Thank you.
Thank you. We do have two citizens wishing to speak. First, Ed, would you like to come up? And as normal, name and address, please.
Okay, Edward Lasowski, 6988 South 27th Street, adjacent to the property you're speaking of. Been a member of Oak Creek before we were a city of Oak Creek. So you've been around a long time, okay? I'm concerned, first of all, the driveway coming out of there. Adjacent to my driveway would be, dangerous. Coming out of there and going in. So I'm very concerned about that. Okay? Secondly, the water drainage. How well are you going to take care of that? Who's going to supervise it? I'm very concerned about that.
Are those the two, or you have more?
Well, that's basically my concern. The driveway, the location of that driveway, how is it going to affect my driveway going into my property and out?
Okay.
And secondly, the water drainage.
Okay, I'm going to defer that to our engineer, Brian.
He's smiling.
And Brian is smiling, but that's why
Thought that
we
was
got him
coming.
up here.
The driveway is located on the property on 27th Street per DOT requirements. So that's the only place that they can have that driveway on the property,
Goes on 27th Street.
on 27th Street. There's another access
What's the
point.
address on that driveway?
Brian, I believe the address is 7018
18.
South 27th Street.
70?
18.
Well, it's next door to mine then. Mine's 6988.
Yeah, it should be
Adjacent,
not adjacent to, but the next property south. So it's about 150, 200 feet south of where your driveway is. And that's where the DOT has said that they can have an access point to the property. It's access restricted across that frontage. There's another access point that's on Rawson. And there's one access point on Rawson, roughly 400 feet east of the intersection. So those are two places that they're allowed to have an access point at this time. Okay?
Can't move that driveway down farther? She's nodding your head. No. What are you talking about?
Oh, ma'am. But we need your name and address. You have to be on the microphone, ma'am.
I just want to help them. So we have a driveway here that has to, we can't have the water and the asphalt, all this stuff going on our property. And you can't have the driveway right next to us here. That's his concern.
Right. So again, the driveway per DOT is 150 to 200 feet from your drive.
Can be farther than that?
Well, the
Farther than that.
DOT specs it.
With the DOT regulations right now, no, it cannot be farther than that. This is the point that the DOT has said this is where the driveway is going to be.
Why can't they move it farther way down towards Rawson?
They don't want to get too close to the intersection and cause issues for the intersection as well. So you want to keep that separation from the
So
intersection.
they're concerned about 27th and Rawson.
Yes. As far as the drainage will go into a stormwater pond. So it's not going to be running off onto your site like it is now. It's going to go to a pond. So the drainage will be detained, and then the water will be released at a slower rate than just running off the property. Okay. There's 2 ponds on the property. They are, maybe you can show them on there, Carrie, where the ponds are on the screen there. They're to the east of where all the pavement is. And all the water is going to drain over to that location. I don't remember off the top of my head where it drains, where the outlet is. Jim? It goes on Rawson. So that all drains down to the south across Rawson.
So the ponds are going to drain towards Rawson,
Yes.
not towards Cedar there.
No, not towards Cedar, towards Rawson.
You know where Cedar is?
Yep.
All those foams are in there.
Mhm.
And it goes right to my property, adjacent to my property, Cedars.
Yep.
I
Does.
hope to extend that sometime, you know? I don't want that flooded in there.
So does that help answer your questions, Ed?
I also had a question about a berm,
Oh,
berm location from,
the berm is on the north. It's located on the north to buffer your property. And they enhance the landscaping there to buffer your home. So it's going to be heavily laden with trees and bushes and what have
With
you.
what?
It's going to be, they're going to have a berm between your property and the car dealership. And they're going to put they're going to put trees in there, bushes and landscape as per the city forester. So you have a buffer between your residence and their building.
How wide will that buffer be, Mr. Gruszkowski?
I don't remember
What's that?
how big the buffer is. They're looking right now, Commissioner Johnson.
I'm guessing that the property line to the back of curb for where the parking is going to be is about 20 feet. So that's the area that'll be landscaped.
Only 20 feet.
Yes.
Wow. Oh. Can't make it more than that?
I believe the setbacks are 5 for parking lots. Zoning?
Have to double check if it's 5 or if it's 0, but it's, the 20 feet is, if they move into the 20 feet, then they lose that first row of parking.
Well, I'm worried about, not worried about their parking. I'm worried about closer to my property there.
Understood. That's why we had them beef up the landscape in the last meeting. We insisted on bigger, broader vegetation.
Okay, but
What exists, there's no vegetation there now, is there?
no.
No, so
Well, there's nothing there now.
there's nothing there now.
Yeah,
So,
it's
right.
nice. It's
But again,
nice.
it is nice, but it is changing, and we want to accommodate you, so we asked them to beautify that with landscape as best they could,
Yeah.
rather than a fence. And, we didn't want anybody looking at a fence.
Decrease the value of my property, you know what I mean? When they do that. and put
I
that
have
too
no
close.
knowledge if it will or won't.
Well, taxes, yeah.
Ma'am, you have to be on the microphone. You can't speak from the floor.
We pay $15,000, almost $300 taxes a year, so I think we're entitled to some protection, don't you agree?
Yeah.
The body shop, the car wash, I mean, we don't want all that right there where we are, because we have plans for that property too.
Agreed, and we're not infringing on your future development. And again, we've addressed that. You won't have the water issue. If anything, we're hoping to improve the water issues that go on there with the 2 ponds and the drainage to Rawson. So we're looking at that aspect. Also, again, we're trying to beautify it and provide you that buffer. So if the time ever comes you decide to develop your land, we actually think it'll be enhanced by what's going on.
Well, I'm concerned about that back, where that drainage, that back end there, and it goes towards Cedar. You know what I'm talking about?
But the ponds, as Commissioner Johnston stated, they're gonna hold the water and let it go at a prescribed rate, but it's gonna go to Rawson. That's how it's gonna be engineered.
Engineered, but will it work that way?
Well, I'm not an engineer, so I trust my engineers. I won't doubt my staff when it comes to that because they have far more knowledge about that than I do.
And more than I do, that's for sure.
Well,
I don't want the problem.
I know it's a leap of faith for you.
Sure is.
But, I mean, engineers do go to school, and civil engineers and mechanical engineers and environmental engineers are trained to do this. And in most cases, we found as when they do go into projects like this that have water issues, they're usually improved by the new methods of detention ponds. So,
And Brian will guarantee that, huh?
Brian, I don't
Brian,
know if
can you guarantee that?
Brian is our engineer, and
Yeah.
again,
Yeah.
I do believe that our engineering department has worked diligently to get the right answer at this.
They're all looking to you.
I know they are. The other thing for where you're talking about for Cedar, there's no development that's happening in that end. They're not changing anything on that end of the property. I'm guessing they're probably 600 feet west of that area that you're concerned with the drainage
600.
towards
You
Cedar.
sure 600?
I'm guessing. I don't have anything that's scalable up here, so I'm using my scale.
Well, you know what you can do with that scale, don't you?
Yeah. It's working good over here. So.
Yeah, right, yeah.
So, Carrie, could you pull up the location map? Or an aerial, whichever. Okay, so
There you go.
location map. So, the end of Cedar there, you're concerned with the wetland that's just west of that area off of Cedar. You see the proposed road
West and south of it, yeah.
where the road's going through the middle of that property. All the development that they're working on is west of that road. So that's the official map street pattern. Kind of runs north and south from Rawson up to 27th Street. There you go. So the wetlands and the drainage that you're concerned with over on by Cedar, they're not getting anywhere near that. They're not changing anything over in that end.
Yeah, put the arrow up there because that's where my property is, right there, that big square there. No, up, right there and back now.
This is,
Oh, go that way, go that way. There's, that's all my property there. That's all of mine.
They're not going there.
yeah, they're not doing anything over on that end. So they're not going to be changing the drainage or anything on that end of the property.
Okay, show me exactly where the drainage is gonna be with the arrow. With the arrow.
I can't, it won't let me go any further south than that. Where it is right now is approximately. Where the arrow is on the screen right now is approximately where their ponds are going to be. But I can't move it any further south to show you where the drainage would be on Rawson.
And it's going to drain to the ditch that runs along the properties there, facing onto Rawson, and runs out
To Rawson?
onto Rawson, south to Rawson. That's where the ponds will discharge to.
You sure?
Yes,
And you're a planning engineer?
yes.
And you'll be here when it happens, or you're gonna move on?
I will. I'll be here for a long time. So
Okay. Got a contract with us, I hope?
I'll be here.
Good, okay, and I gotta remember your name, Brian.
All right.
Where's your office around the building here?
Right here.
Where?
Right over there.
Right over there?
Yep, right across the hall.
Okay,
Again, our staff works really hard to get this right to the best of their ability. I do believe they've worked very hard. They're very professional about what they do, and they're very skilled. So I have every confidence they'll get it right.
you agree with that, Mr. Kraszowski?
I do, sir. We'll make sure he gets it right for everyone.
Yeah. The last thing we want to do is cause any issues to not only the people developing, but the neighbors that are there.
Yeah,
So we try to
everybody,
make it
yeah.
right for everybody.
Please.
We're not trying to make it hard on anybody. Which is why we welcome you up here to answer these questions beforehand
Yeah.
in the first place before we
Yeah,
go.
because if I decide to want to sell, people look into that, they won't buy it.
Oh, they certainly will, but again, if you come to sell it, we want to make sure things are right so it's developable, because it benefits us too here at the city. And just as you living there benefits us, we want to make sure things are right. The last thing we want is a vacant brown house or store or building there.
White House.
White House. Yeah. So, is that it, Ed?
I think so.
Okay.
I'll watch it, oh, please.
Please keep an eye on
Okay,
it. I'm
yeah.
sure you will. I'm sure you will.
Okay, thanks, Brian.
Okay.
Thanks, Ed.
Yeah.
Thank you. Next, we have Arden. Would you like to come on up?
Arden Degner, 8540 South Pennsylvania. I'm considerably interested in this 27th Street area. With across the street, there are doctors' offices. It's an urban area. Therefore, the sidewalks should be provided both on 27th Street and Rawson, and I don't see it listed that way. And as I understand, 27th Street is supposed to be a certain upper class with Franklin, and yet, why isn't this required as well as a public improvement for this street now? Thank you.
Okay, addressing the sidewalks with the 27th Street streetscape plan. I don't know if we'd call it upper class, but we do have a joint plan going with Franklin. Some of the amenities started to go in. As you can see, some of the benches and the decorative walls and information boards going up. Also, the sidewalk did go in along 27th, if I'm not mistaken, Pete. We do have the path there. Brian?
And the sidewalk was also extended along Rawson, along the north side of Rawson, to tie in with the existing sidewalk that's down by the homes, the 27th Street project.
As far as addressing the plotted road that would run to 27th Street, that would be addressed when the road actually, if and when it ever goes in. So those amenities are looking to be provided. That is it for our requested speakers from the citizens. Yes, sir, it is. Is there any comments or questions from the commission?
Things haven't changed. Pretty well.
No. Like I say, we did have a meeting. The conditional use permit ran out. You're pretty much looking at the same thing. Keep in mind, we held them to pretty high standards because this is a premier corner. So the garage doors became glass. We asked for the extra height to meet the 27th Street overlay plan. We had them spruce up the sides of the building with color. What else did we go after there, Carrie? We had a few changes. We beefed up the landscape. We worked hard at that road with the fire department coming off Rawson.
Yeah, there were a few changes to the building itself. The footprint got a little bit bigger. We asked them to put in some of the changes on the north and east side that were in the original plans. They did change the south side on their own, and they made it look a little bit more like the original plans for the building that had those changes in colors and materials. The height of the parapet was also raised to make sure that the mechanicals were going to be screened, even though the building itself is only going to be a single story rather than a two-story. So those are some of the things that were changed. Also, they decided to add a canopy over the entrance to the service center, and that actually bumped out the building a little bit. provided a covered entry, and it will provide somewhat of a block to those doors, although those doors will still maintain the glass panels to make it look more like windows, which is something that we asked for all of the overhead doors to reflect in the original approval. So those things were changed, and then they were maintained in these revised plans.
Thank you for reminding me about the awning over the service bay. I think it actually added to the building and improved it. Really gives it a nice look. I think it's going to be a very nice addition to that corner going forward. No, one other thing to pay attention to, we talked about the corner where the old business was, the Spice 2. The state currently owns that piece of property, and eventually they may decide to sell it off. And All-Star may have a chance to buy it, or the city. They are escrowing money so that if the opportunity comes, the money's there to purchase it, and then we can jointly do something for the benefit of all on that corner. So keep that in mind.
Next question I was going to ask about that corner.
Yeah.
It's still owned by the state.
It is still currently owned by the state, and time will tell as to when and if they ever put it up for sale. But when they do, we're being proactive about that with some escrow. Yes, Ed?
Does the state maybe retaining that property?
Excuse me?
The state at present retains that property.
Yes.
Do you think they're going to put a cutoff on there? Come into 27th Street off at Wasson?
No. No, I think the turn lane is
think
what
so,
the
Brian?
turn lane is.
No, they just improved that road, so they're not going to be adding
You sure?
Another turn
Because
lane.
that's a pretty big turn. That's a pretty,
there's already a turn lane there,
yeah, but they
so
could,
they're not going to add another
they could
one.
expand that, from Rawson to 27th Street?
No.
You sure?
Yep.
Not in your plans.
No. Nope, not at all.
How long you stay? A long time?
Long time.
Okay.
Thanks, Ed. Any other questions from the commission? Chauncey, Chris, Fred? Nobody? Okay. If not, motion, please.
Seifert moves that the Plan Commission recommends that the Common Council approves a conditional use permit for automotive sales and services and a private car wash facility on the properties at 7008 and 7018 South 27th Street and a portion of 2500 West Rawson Avenue after a public hearing and subject to conditions and restrictions that will be prepared for the Commission's review at the next meeting, March 27th, 2018.
Oracle second.
Roll call.
Hannah, aye.
Johnston, aye.
Grillo, aye.
Lorik, aye.
Kavich, aye.
Guzekowski, aye.
Seifert, aye.
Chandler, aye.
Thank you. Item 5B is the review of a certified survey map submitted by William Zantis, Wisco Hotel Group, dividing the property at 6440 South 13th Street. Got a little tongue-tied there. Carrie?
This is a request to divide the existing hotel property into 2 lots. This is the proposed CSM. There is a PUD that affects this property that allows for 70-foot wide lots rather than the required 150 feet or in the B4 district or the 200 feet in the M1 district. We did find a few errors and requirements for the applicant to include in an updated map. These were provided to the applicant as well. The wetland delineation is out of date and needs to be updated. The floodplain reference needs to include the letter of map amendment or map revision from FEMA. Per the water and sewer utility, Lot 1 cannot be served with sanitary sewer without connecting a small sliver of the property that fronts the sewer on the east side of the property. There is a caution that if this is approved, the water service from 13th Street serving Lot 2 becomes an illegal condition as it is crossing one property to serve another. So this is something that will have to be worked out with the water and sewer utility. There is a minor error in the signature page. There should be a line for the mayor as the Plan Commission chair, Director Doug Seymour as the Plan Commission secretary, and the Common Council should include a resolution number. Staff has been aware that the CSM is being requested for financing purposes and that there are no immediate plans for development, hence why the conditions of approval allow for the wetland delineation to be done at a later date. And the condition of approval does allow the process to continue without the requirement for the map to be updated, but that will be required prior to development on Lot 1. If the Plan Commission is satisfied with these conditions and the proposed map, there is a suggested motion that the Plan Commission recommends to the Common Council that the certified survey map submitted by Williams Anitas Wisco Hotel Group for the property at 6440 South 13th Street be approved, subject to conditions 1 through 3. Mr. Mayor.
Thank you very much, Carrie. Applicant like to say anything, or?
Hi, I'm Todd Winkler. I'm the president and CEO of Wisco Hotel Group, and I'm representing Mr. Zanitas. And like she said, it's really what we did was we refinanced the hotel with a package of other hotels, and rather large deal. It's put into a bond. So knowing that there's a little bit of land in there that could someday have a Starbucks or something on that site, we wanted to separate that from the loan that was being made. We have no current plans, but when we do have plans, we obviously will come to you and do everything we need to do to make it happen. So really, it's just a request to get it off of the books of the bank. So if you have any questions.
Yeah, I have a question about the sewer, water and sewer. Have you talked with the utility and discussed your plans or what has to be done?
We have not, but we understand that, we talked to Doug and we understand that things have to be done at some point, and we own all the land around it, so easements aren't an issue on our part. So whatever has to happen, we will be able to, I assume, do. So if we can't, we can't, but then it wouldn't be developed. So you guys wouldn't, if we can't do what needs to be done, you guys wouldn't approve the future development. So, and we understand that. So.
Any other questions? Jossie? Okay. Chris?
So this is going to be a conditional approval based on the, for the lot number 1?
What we're requesting is the CSM to be approved and move forward, and then any development be based on your approval. So it would be a freestanding site as far as I understand. But to develop it, obviously we do have to come here and get it all approved. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. So how about the impact, though, if it's not developed on that site? For lot number 2, impact on lot number 1?
As far as impact,
From the floodplain, if it's been looked at?
if it's not developed,
No, if lot 2 is developed and you don't purchase lot 1 like you mentioned.
No, Lot 2 is already currently developed.
yeah,
two is-
that's
okay.
developed, and we
But-
own the whole thing. So
Okay.
the question would be is what we do with lot 1.
So you own both?
Yes,
Then I
yes,
misunderstood.
and
I
it's
thought
part
you
of the
don't-
PUD that with
Okay,
the both
okay.
with all the properties. So
Okay, that makes sense.
yeah.
Any other questions?
You're creating a lot that could end up not being developed with this layout without illegal connections to the sewer and water. There's also no wetland delineation done on this property, which is a requirement of our CSMs. For conveyance or not, it's still a requirement of our CSMs. So there's a lot of information that we're just kind of assuming for the CSM, that this may not be a buildable lot, period, with the floodplain and wetland that's on it. So to me, I'd be a lot more comfortable if it was called an outlot and it's not buildable, but that's not what they're asking for here. So I have some issues with this CSM.
Points well taken. Anyone else? This is, now it's strictly financial, you're saying?
Right. Basically, we want to, if we kept it in the bond and we want to develop it later, the ability to get it released from the bond is very complicated. So what we wanted to do was release it prior to the bond. If that makes sense, prior to the loan. it's packaged with 12 hotels, so we're trying to get it out of that.
Okay, from a consistency standpoint, should it be, does it make a difference if it's considered an outlot or a lot? I guess.
I don't think so at this point. It's part of the PUD, so that's, I guess, for you to tell us.
Okay, and then historically or for consistency purposes, what about the wetland delineation? Can you guys help me out a little bit on this? Educate me.
Historically, we have required, as Brian has said, that we have the wetlands delineated and depicted on the map prior to recording. We understand that this is for financing purposes. There was a suggestion made in the report that that Lot 1 could be considered an outlot at this time until such time as a development would occur. Then they could come back and ask for that lot to be changed. There is still going to be a requirement that whenever the wetlands get delineated, the map has to be updated anyway. So if the Plan Commission is more comfortable with saying that Lot 1 has to be an outlot at this time, that's within your purview to recommend for Common Council approval. And they can do the wetland delineation at a later date.
Okay, because I'm trying to jog my memory. I know wetland delineations held up a homeowner who was trying to do laterals at one point in time.
No, one thing we could do is, I think at this point, we're close enough to, I think the month of May is when they can do delineations. We can put this out and have it delineated. It's not that, at one point it needed to be done sooner than now.
If it could be done properly as per consistency with the city and get the delineation, I personally would be more comfortable with that, and I think my staff would too.
Great. And we don't, again, at one point, this was a little more urgent than it is today.
Okay.
So we can, I think they have to have growth. So I think the month of May, if I'm not mistaken, is when they can usually delineate
Start.
properly, because once they get they
Okay.
can tell what's coming
Yeah,
out.
I mean, I know sometimes it's a convenience factor, but I think it's more important to be consistent and
Sure.
correct in what we
Okay.
do than.
We can do that. Why don't we do that? If you guys tell us what you want, and we'll delay it till we get it delineated. That's fine.
I would like to see that. Yeah, then we'll just hold and,
We can craft a condition of approval. We can still move forward.
oh, we can.
Yes, we
Okay.
can. So the condition number 1 would be changed to say that a wetland delineation is depicted on the map prior to recording. We've said that in the past.
Instead of commencement of any development activities, so prior to recording.
Prior to recording the CSM. If the applicant is comfortable with that condition, we can certainly add that.
Great. Perfect.
Yes, we can do that.
Great. Anything else?
Brian?
I'm fine with the wetland. We're still creating an illegal connection for the water line
Water line.
with Lot 2. And unless there's some sort of sliver, and I don't know where that lateral comes through exactly on that property, if a sliver could be added to accommodate that water service, so it comes through.
Is it a matter of a
Basically, the water lateral,
easement, or can it
it's
come?
got to be land. It cannot cross a property line. The lateral can't cross a property line. So it has to be a contiguous strip of land to get to the main. And I don't know where that comes out for sure.
Water department, clarify that for me. The water department would decide where that comes out?
It's already in, and I don't know what impact that would have without knowing exactly where that water line comes through. If that strip of land is right through the middle of Lot 1 that you're trying to create, it kind of creates a problem. If it's along one of the edges, it's not as big a deal.
Okay, you don't have where that is right currently.
The only thing that we have is on the screen right now, those are public mains. We don't have individual laterals, and I think the lateral is the issue. We don't know where exactly that is.
And the lateral coming off 13th Street is, towards the south end of the property. So basically like the southwest corner of the building, the hotel there, that's where that lateral comes off 13th Street. How it goes from 13th Street to the building, I don't know. And we don't keep records of private stuff here.
Okay.
We only deal with
All
public
right.
stuff. So.
Okay. Well, since we had some time on the others, or somehow we build that in there too, and we move forward with the water to figure out where that is exactly, and
What we can do is, there's a condition number 3 that says that the applicant will work closely with the water and sewer utility for the requirements, but we can say that it has to be reflected on the map prior to recording, just like the wetland east delineation.
all right.
Okay. Everybody clear with those two corrections?
I'm crafting that, so whenever somebody makes the motion, I will help you out.
Appreciate that, Carrie. Somebody like to make that motion?
Clerk will move that the Plan Commission recommend to the Common Council that the certified survey map submitted by William Znedis, Wisco Hotel Group for the property at 6440 South 13th Street be approved with the following conditions. Number 1, that the wetland delineation depicted on the map is updated and included on the map prior to recording. Number 2, that all technical corrections, including but not limited to spelling errors, minor coordinate, geometry corrections, corrections required for compliance with the municipal code and Wisconsin statutes, and the following are made prior to recording. A, that the map is updated to include the floodplain reference to LOMR case number 16-05-0269P, effective September 23rd, 2016. B, that the signature page is updated with a signature line for Mayor Daniel J. Bukevich as Plan Commission Chair and Douglas W. Seymour as Plan Commission Secretary. C, that the signature page is updated with the Common Council resolution number. And number 3, that the applicant works closely with the Oak Creek Water and Sewer Utility for all water and sanitary sewer requirements, and that be reflected on the map prior to recording.
Chandler, second.
Roll call.
Anna, aye.
Johnston, aye.
Grillo, aye.
Lorick, aye.
Gavich, aye.
Kuzikowski, aye.
Seifert, aye.
Right.
Chandler, aye.
Well, I'd like to thank you for your patience and understanding, and also the staff for helping us through that one on the fly and understanding that. That one got a little bit, I think, above a couple pay grades here, so thank you. Next, we have minor land division at 3404 and 3420 East County Line Road. So, Gary?
This is a request to combine the 2 adjacent lots that are shown on your screen into one compliant lot. This is the proposed CSM. As you can see, a lot of the lot is actually encumbered by wetland and floodplain. The wetlands have been delineated and they are effective. There is no need to require them to update that delineation. The floodway and the flood fringe boundaries are now depicted on the map as well. There is no new development proposed at this time. However, any future development would have to comply with all required setbacks and codes. If the Plan Commission is comfortable with the CSM as proposed, there is a suggested motion that the Plan Commission recommends to the Common Council that the certified survey map submitted by Dennis and Linda Cunard for the properties at 3404 and 3420 East County Line Road be approved, with the condition that any technical corrections, including but not limited to spelling errors, minor coordinate geometry corrections, and corrections required for compliance with the municipal code and Wisconsin statutes are made prior to recording. Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Carrie. Dennis, would you like to say anything, or? Oh, okay. Okay. Any questions from the commission?
I do.
No, it looks pretty clean.
You have something, Chauncey?
I do have a question for the applicant.
Come on up, Dennis. We'll need your name and address for the record, please.
My name is Dennis Cunard. I'm at 3404 East County Line Road.
Okay, my question is, can you provide a little more information on why you're joining
Why,
these
certainly.
two properties?
Because I want to put a garage over there. Okay, they said I couldn't put a garage on that one parcel, and they said the only way I could do it is if I combine the two. They said I could put a garage behind my house, but I don't think that's practical.
Okay, thank you.
And that's so I can put an RV in it. And a car. And my lawn equipment. Anything else?
That's all that I had. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
Anything else for anybody? No. Dennis does some gardening back there, and it's a very nice property there. I think he's going to improve it vastly. So.
Oh, yeah, you were there.
Excellent. Motion.
Clerk moves that the Plan Commission recommend to the Common Council that the certified survey map submitted by Dennis and Linda Cunard for the properties at 3404 and 3420 East County Line Road be approved with the following condition: that all technical corrections, including but not limited to spelling errors, minor coordinate geometry corrections, and corrections required for compliance with the municipal code and Wisconsin statutes are made prior to recording.
Seifert seconds.
Roll call.
Anna, I.
Johnston, aye.
Rilla, I.
Lorick, aye.
Gavich, aye.
Guzikowski, aye.
Seifert, aye.
Chandler, I.
All right. Good luck, Dennis. Item 5D, review a request for a temporary use permit submitted by Justin Cratchville, sorry if I butchered that, Ozinga Ready Mix Concrete Inc. for a temporary portable ready mix concrete plant on the property at 841 West Rawson Avenue. Pete?
Yes, I'll take that one. As the mayor stated, that is a request for a temporary use permit allowing them to operate a temporary concrete batch at the property at 841 West Rawson Avenue. A similar request was asked for and approved back in 2010 to have a temporary batch plant there. Up on the screen are some aerial views of 2011 when they did have the plant in there. And highlighted in the rectangle on the right-hand side is an example of where they will relocate just like they did back in 2011. To give you a little better view, here is a Google Maps. On the south side is Rawson Avenue. The batch plant is back here. The permanent one where they want to be going is just to the left of the material elevator, so they would locate in this area right here. Staff is comfortable with the proposed use as it was done once before with no complaints or issues or violations. It is located in Industrial Park. It is located abutting a county road. Cement trucks that will be leaving and entering the site will be doing it via Rawson Avenue, and typically their projects will be taking them onto the freeway to deliver their product. In addition to the fact that they won't be using few, if any, city streets, it is located far away from any residential districts. With that said, staff recommends that the Plan Commission approve the temporary use permit for a temporary concrete batch plant at 841 West Rawson Avenue with conditions 1 and 2. Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Pete. Questions, comments from the commission?
Yeah, I do have a question for
Christine?
the applicant, yes. Where are those approximate projects that you are locating your facility to be here for?
My name is Justin Cradaville. So the forecast for the demands of work in the Milwaukee County area, south into Racine with Foxconn, is unprecedented. Currently, we have several projects in process with the BMO Harris Corporate Center, the Drexel Apartments, the Hyatt by the Bucks Stadium, and General Mitchell International Airport are just to name a few that are currently going or set to go forthcoming. The aspect of the portable batch plant, or the temporary portable batch plant, is to deal with the overflow from the existing plant along with our integrity of our product. It's a central mix plant, which we currently have, and to satisfy the demands of the contractors and the customers that we have that are building into Milwaukee and Racine. We obviously, for consistency purposes, would like to have a secondary batch plant there so we can meet those demands.
Yeah, I was just curious because the approximate location where this temporary batch plant is at, comparing to working downtown, so.
Well, right. We have the facility. Obviously, the acreage is there. The raw material sources are there. So, as a business aspect, it makes sense with the Planning Commission's approval, of course.
All right, thank you.
Can you give me the hours of operation?
Yes, sir. So typically we run usually 6 a.m. Until approximately 6 p.m. That's kind of the standard averages. The typical one-offs for a night pour that might need to be done, obviously with lane closures with the DOT, specifying the timeframes of which the concrete may need to be poured. Now, we haven't done a road project out of Oak Creek since the Walsh project back in 2011, which we originally established this plant for. But ultimately, the typical hours of operations range between 6 a.m. and 6 p.m.
How many days a week? 5 days, 6 days?
Generally 6 days. On Saturdays, we're typically start anywhere between 5 and 6 a.m. and we run until about 1 p.m. Pretty much at the mercy of what the contractor's demands are and the project's, guidelines.
Any other questions?
I have a question for Pete. Since they've been in this location or have had this permit before, have there been any reported issues, concerns?
No, I was here with the state at the time that they had the concrete batch plant back in 2011, and we didn't have any issues or concerns or issues with traffic utilizing Rawson Avenue for the projects that they had.
Thank you.
I think it's important to understand that it is a new name. Mozinga Ready Mix Concrete is a new name locally, but it's the same personnel. It seems to be that businesses just kind of sell out, but Mozinga is in the 90th year of doing business. It's a very young family, very faith-based. They like to invest in the communities of which we operate, along with support of those communities.
And keep in mind, we've done portable batch plants before.
Yes.
And sometimes a rub comes at, just say, for example, Ozinga's coming in, and back in the day, Lafarge was in town. There'd be a little bit of difference there. But
Well, there was an example when the I-94 project was being done at Rawson there was a big batch plant sitting right on the off-ramp, where here, this will be located, several hundred feet away from Rawson Avenue. You're not going to see that as you come and enter the city. So the location here is already being used for concrete, just increasing the capacity. As I mentioned in my report, the location is ideal, and that is why staff is in support of granting this temporary use permit for this type of use.
and you will enter and exit on Rawson, correct?
Yes, sir.
Yep. So this is pretty standard stuff, and if you've been paying attention, they're talking about doing a little bit of development south of us. So the DOT has started a lot of road work down there. So definitely a need for it. So I'm supportive of it. And it is an ideal location.
Thank you, sir.
Any other questions? Comments? All right, motion.
Seifert moves that the Planning Commission approves the temporary use permit for a temporary concrete batch plant at 841 West Rawson Avenue with the following conditions. 1, that the temporary use shall expire on December 31st, 2019. 2, that the property is returned to its original condition.
Chandler seconds.
Roll call.
Hannah, aye.
Johnston, aye.
Grillo, aye.
Lorick, aye.
Kavich, aye.
Kuzikowski, aye.
Seifert, aye.
Chandler, aye.
Okay, and just before we adjourn, I'd like to express my thanks to the staff. You guys did a wonderful job sorting some things out there. They got a little dodgy there for a minute for myself and the commission. Thank you for your hard work, and thank the IT guy for getting everything up. So with that, adjournment, please. Oh, and Brian, thank you for being up here. You really had the answers today. Thank you.
Carrillo moves to adjourn at 7 o'clock.
Kuzikowski, second.
Roll call.
Hannah, aye.
Johnston, aye.
Carrillo, aye.
Lorick, aye.
Kavich, aye.
Kuzikowski, aye.
Seifert, aye.
Chandler, aye.
Great. Thank you for tuning in, everybody, and please get out there, discover, and celebrate Oak Creek.